Hi there, so I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible. The few suggestions that I had about Cinema 4D and After Effects. One is that in Cinema 4D, you can set your default settings. So when you very first open a project, it shows you the project settings, or to get to it is Control D. I want 24 frames per second. And then, in my viewport settings, Shift V as in viewport, I want to go to my effects and I want to turn on shadows, turn on SSAO, and probably transparency. And then I want to go to my render settings and I want to go to that preset I showed you, film and video, HDTV 1080 24. That way all this is set up, and then in save, I want to change this to PNG and check on alpha channel. And these are the options I want to be my default, right? So every time I open After Effects, or not After Effects, open Cinema 4D, I want it to be this by default, what I have set it to be. And so the way you do that is you go up to Window, Customization, and Save as Default Scene. And once I do that, anytime I close and make a brand new project, you can see here this changes 7, 8, 9, 10. My frame rate down here, 24 FPS. When I open it up, over here, my save is PNG. Everything is defaulted to that. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is here in After Effects, you need to go to Edit, Preferences, Import, and wherever those settings are, there they are. You want to go to, in this import, there is sequence footage. You want to change that to 24 frames per second. What that does is every time you bring in a PNG sequence or a TIFF sequence or whatever, it's going to bring in at that frames per second. You're most likely going to be animating at that frame rate. So I'm going to hit OK. That's applied. That is now, every time I open After Effects, it will do that for me. So next I'm going to talk about doing the looping 4 times. So I'm going to navigate to somewhere where I have a PNG sequence. Let's see, I should have some in here. So I know I just did some recently. So these are the folders that contain my PNG sequences. What I want to do is I want to grab the folder and drag that into my project panel. By doing that, it automatically gives me a PNG sequence that is 24 frames per second. I didn't have to hit import. I didn't have to make sure that button was checked on. Nothing. It's already on. And then from there, I need a new composition. This composition needs to be longer than whatever I'm making because I'm going to loop it a couple times. I'm going to name it, test loop. In your case, you're going to name it your assignment or whatever. And then hit OK. And then I bring this in. And all these dark parts are see-through in this case because I rendered it with an alpha channel. So I can right click and say new solid, make that solid a color, hit OK, and I can put that in the background. And now it takes over that color. And if I want to change that color, I can hit, I believe, Control Shift Y, and that will let me change that color to something else. And okay, so now I've got that. And I have my sequence, but it's not looping, it just stops here. So if I want it to loop, I have 2 options. One is right click, time, enable time remapping. I'm going to hold down Alt and click on the stopwatch. What that does is that gives me an expression window. And I just need to type out loop. And I want loop out. So I can click on that, double click so that it'll bring it in, right? Now that I double clicked it, and oh no, it's still turned off. Why? Because I need to extend out my my whole sequence. So now I get that loop, and it comes around again, and then it comes around again, and then it comes around again, right? So and I can just keep going all the way down and doing that for as long as I needed to. The other way, if you're too afraid to type in this window or anything, you can, instead of doing that, you can just hit Control D, duplicates in After Effects, So Control D as in duplicate. You select the one you want to be at the front first. Hold down Shift and click the one you want to be at the end last. And then right click, Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers, and you don't want overlap turned on if you want them back to back, and then hit OK. And what that does is it does the same thing, loop, 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 but it'll end at the exact fourth loop because there's no more. And I believe that's everything I wanted to cover. One other thing, when you're making a new composition, there is a preset in here as well, HDTV 1080-24. So you can do that for in here as well if you want to have all those settings that you wanted. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on the Slack. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.